What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota and welcome back to Cologne. Today we're going to be doing a requested video, and what we're going to do today is we are going to review and go over Azzaro's, we'll call this the big three. This was a heavily requested video, especially after I posted the video about Forever Wanted, but it's basically going to be a comparison video against Azzaro's Intense EDP, Most Wanted Parfum, and the new Forever Elixir. So without further ado, let's get into it. As everybody knows, the new Forever Wanted Elixir is the hottest new release from Azzaro right now. So with this being such a requested video, I thought I would go ahead and kind of bump this one to the top of the line. Basically, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over all three to see if the Forever Elixir should warrant the title of Azzaro's best new fragrance. But to pay respects to the originals, we're going to start with the date they were released, and the Most Wanted Intense EDP was released first. So this one is a little bit more linear of the three fragrances. This one is the one that is going to have a beautiful caramel note. This one is going to smell like sweet toffee. This one is going to have a good touch of that gourmand, that warm, that inviting, almost a little sensual kind of feeling to it. And the best part about this fragrance is if you absolutely love a gourmand, sweet, toffee, caramel kind of vibe that is blended in such a way that will just leave you with an absolute mouth-watering dry down. And as far as the Wanted line goes, this was the one that kind of kicked off the new transition that they went to about putting out gourmand, super sweet, kind of moving away from the clean, kind of soapier vibe, because a lot of the fragrances before this one, like the original Wanted, Wanted by Night, Wanted Tonic, those were a little more of clean, those were a little more wood-based. Those had just a little bit of a more simple complexity, just keep it clean, simple, and fresh is kind of the direction they went with that one. Not so much Wanted by Night, but definitely some of the other ones that they went with. This one, when they came out with this, I love the direction that they went with this one specifically. Now, to my knowledge, that's kind of what they wanted to do. They wanted the Most Wanted line to be a deviation of, to go in that more sweet, gourmand, heavy, hard-hitting, kind of a winter fragrance, fall fragrances, stuff like that. And by what I've found, if that's exactly what they wanted to do, they hit that on the head almost perfectly. But yeah, this one is the one we got to pay respects to first, because this is the one that kicked it all off. So next up on the list is going to be the Most Wanted Parfum. For the longest time, this was probably one of my favorite fragrances in my entire collection, and honestly, it still is. This one smells eerily similar to Intense EDP. The biggest difference you're going to get on this one is this one has such a beautiful smoky vanilla ginger kind of vibe. So the way that they were able to do like a gingered vanilla, and the bourbon vanilla they used on this, I feel like brought in a little bit of a smoky vibe to it. The way they were able to blend this one up was absolutely amazing. This one to me right now is still one of my absolute favorite reaches for winter, for fall. To me, this is a fragrance I wish I could wear all year round. Just the beautiful sweetness that you get off the top of this, the kind of crispness that you can get off of that ginger note, the way this thing falls all the way through the dry down, and you wind up with such a beautiful vanilla woody based fragrance that is just, this thing is an incredibly complete fragrance that anyone should be able to wear, especially this time of year. But I do have to say, just like the other two fragrances we're going to talk about here today, none of these fragrances are going to really do well in heat whatsoever. These are all going to be fall and winter type of fragrances. And like I said, I feel like that's what Azzaro wanted to do. I feel like they wanted to take their Wanted line, make that a little more fresh, keep those more of like spring and summer kind of vibes, and Most Wanted, or Forever Wanted in this case, they want them to be more of like a fall and winter type of vibe, and that's exactly what they got out of these. But anyway, yeah, so that is going to be this one. That is going to be the Most Wanted Parfum. And now onward to the newest release, that is going to be Forever Wanted Elixir. So the first thing I would like to touch on this one is I was a little bit off on the notes. When I recorded the video, the notes weren't even available yet. I was just trying to piece together what I thought I was smelling. And unfortunately, instead of like a toffee caramel kind of vibe, it wound up being raspberry, and instead of a kind of a vetiver, it was leather. Now, the one thing where I did make a boo-boo on this fragrance is I did not give this enough time to dry down. After about that hour, hour and a half range, the leather in this came out heavily, but it stayed incredibly clean. it stays incredibly smooth. So I'm still going to stand on by what I said on this fragrance, that this fragrance is an absolute beautiful, sweet, smoky, and still does have a little bit of touch of that earthy, but that earthiness wound up being a leather instead of a vetiver. But I did kind of want to touch on that before I got too far into this one. But with this being their new 2025 release, I feel like this is going to be a fragrance that they knocked out of the park, especially comparing it directly to the other two fragrances. That's something I wish I would have done in my first video. So I kind of like doing this one because now I can do a direct comparison. So I will say, of the three, this one does smell the most different. This one having that kind of leather background, this one having such like a sweet smoked candy kind of vibe to it. This smells less gourmand, and I've worn this about 2 or 3 times since then. And one thing that it started to develop, I don't know if I put it in my head, I don't know if maybe a commenter put it in my head, it really does start to smell like a smoked Jolly Rancher almost. This has such a beautiful smoked sweetness to it that is absolutely amazing. The more I've worn this, the more I've kind of liked it. And I don't really like leather-based fragrances, so I'm being honest. But the leather on this one comes across so smooth, so clean, and it has decent staying power. So one thing I can touch on now that I've worn this a couple times, is the longevity on this. Of the three, unfortunately, this kind of has the worst performance. Sillage-wise, I got 2 or 3 foot of sillage out of this, so the sillage was really big. The projection sets incredibly close to the skin, but that is kind of Azzaro's wheelhouse. That's kind of what they tend to do, because the most wanted Parfum and the most wanted EDP on my skin do set rather close. And as far as longevity, I wound up getting about that 7 to 8 hour range. I do tend to get more out of the other two. So this one, for being an Elixir, I was pleasantly surprised how the performance kind of got scaled back just a little. But now that I've compared all three side by side, I will have to note that there are some similarities here. This whole line between the Most Wanted and the Forever Elixir, all three fragrances are incredibly warm, they're incredibly inviting. They have almost like a mass appeal vibe to it, while also being able to smell similar to each other by sharing that DNA. But comparing it to other fragrances, they do kind of stand in their own little class of their own. But the biggest question that I've asked is, are they different enough to warrant owning one of the other two plus this one? And the answer to that is yes. So this one, because this has a leather background, it has that raspberry that gives it a little more of a fruity candy vibe coming off the top, and it has that nice bit of smokiness to it. I would not have any problem owning at least 2 out of the 3. I own all 3, and I genuinely enjoy owning all 3. I feel like what Azzaro's doing with their Wanted line, and this one specifically, is absolutely amazing. I hope these fragrances stick around for a very long time, because there is so much good wearability coming from these 3 fragrances that you essentially can't go wrong with any of them. If you buy any of these 3, they are going to be absolutely amazing. These do have a big compliment factor. I got about 4 or 5 compliments out of the 2 days that I wore this to work. But now to go ahead and answer the question that a lot of people have been asking me, of the 3, which one am I going to still consider the best? And if I'm being 100% honest, I'm probably going to go ahead and say that Azzaro Most Wanted Parfum of the 3 is still going to be my favorite. I absolutely love the gourmand, smoky vanilla dry down that you get off of this. This is a fragrance that for me is incredibly hard to put down. But with that being said, when it comes to these 2 fragrances right here, I'm going to go ahead and give it to this one. Some of that could be a little bit of recency bias because this is so new. I really love that smoked candy. This one only lost by a hair. I sprayed all 3 on tester strips, and I came back and smelled them over and over and over. And then I went ahead and took a few sprays and compared them on skin. And this one, having that smoked fruitiness, is absolutely beautiful. It lost by a hair. But with that does not mean this fragrance is bad whatsoever. All 3 of these fragrances, I'm going to go ahead and say, are absolute knockouts. They are absolutely beautiful, all in their own right. They do smell different enough that Forever Wanted Elixir would warrant a purchase compared to the other 2. The only thing that I'm going to dock Forever Wanted Elixir on just a hair is Azzaro traditionally had released fragrances at an awesome price point. Whenever they released the Intense EDT last year, it came out at $110. I figured the Elixir would come out a little bit more. I was expecting more in like the $125 range. So full retail, that one is going to be $145. I think at my local store, it's like $156 going out the door. I kind of wish they would have kept that price down just a hair, because up until this point, they had been really friendly in the fragrance market. But for my rankings, I feel like Parfum is still kind of holding on to the crown for now. It is incredibly close. between all three. And then I feel like Elixir was the second and Intense EDP came in third. But for those that love the Intense EDP, that one is still my wife's favorite of the three. My wife put them as Intense EDP, Elixir, and then Parfum. But hands down, any of these three fragrances are absolutely amazing. I feel like these are three that are going to be safe blind buys. They're going to have a mass appeal effect to them. And on top of that, they are just going to smell so incredibly good. But that is going to get us wrapped up on this one. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing. I actually feel like I need to give a shout out to this fragrance. This fragrance has helped my channel grow so much that I can't even really put it into words. I've never had a video that did so well. And on top of that, the fragrance community responded exponentially well to that. I want to give a sincere thank you for all the kind words, all the support. There was a couple people that had all right to kind of roast me for getting some of the notes wrong, and rightfully so. I took my best guess at it. So for this fragrance playing such a big role in me breaking in 1,000, I'm going to be giving this bottle away for the 1,000 winner. Well, not this exact bottle. I'm going to be sending out a brand new bottle for my 1,000 sub giveaway. I'm going to leave it up to a toss. The two hottest fragrances that I kind of have right now are going to be this one, Forever Wanted Elixir, and I haven't done the video on it yet, but I also have Valentina Extra Dose. I tried to sample this. I absolutely loved this. But by the time this fragrance comes out, I'll be doing a 900 and a 1,000 subscriber giveaway. Sincerely, thank you to everyone who stuck around the channel, listened to me yap, gave me a lot of good feedback for the channel, some stuff that I could switch up, some stuff that I could do to make it a little bit better. Sincerely, thank you. But that is going to get us wrapped up for today. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.